Welcome to the Real Estate Show on KMED. April the 9th is our show. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the real estate guys, with you. We're both real estate brokers with John L. Scott in Southern Oregon, and we get together with you once a week here on KMED to talk about all sorts of real estate-related issues in Jackson and Josephine County, whether you're buying, selling, renting, or investing. Well, this is the place to be right here every Saturday morning, I'll tell you that. Almost 6 years worth of shows. Joe, we've learned a lot in those 6 years, I'm telling you. And right now, I've never seen, in the 6 years that we've been on the show, certainly the real estate market right now is the busiest, certainly I've ever seen.
The demand and the supply and the inventory that's out there and the demand for that inventory have really created some unique dynamics this spring.
Well, it really has. Anyway, here's people to talk about that, because one of the things about John L. Scott of our two offices in Medford and Ashland is that there's some terrific brokers in there who, we talk about frontline people are out there every day doing it, and Don McCoy and Alice Leamer are two people that exemplify that. Welcome to the show, both of you. It's nice to have you back.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Yeah.
It's good to be here, especially with Alice.
I know.
Especially with Don.
Amazing realtor.
Yeah. Well, Alice was on about 6 months ago, 7 months ago, actually, one of our first John L. Scott shows. And so, hey, we got to bring Alice back because we want to hear what she's been doing in the last 6 months since we last talked. So just kind of overall.
Tell us everything.
Yeah, tell us what's going on, Alice.
Everything.
Come on.
Well, the market is really accelerated in some of the lower price ranges, and it's starting to filter up into the $200,000 to $300,000 price range. Rural residential, anything between $200,000 and $350,000. Multiple offers, constantly really hard to get an offer accepted. If you're trying to buy something in town between $200,000 and $300,000, you got to be super, super ready. You have to be super aggressive, and you have to be willing to go look at houses the second they come on the market and have all your paperwork ready when you hit the door.
Yeah, well, that's new. That's something we've been saying. That's been going on for quite some time, hasn't it? Now, Don, you're the same thing. You're seeing the same kind of experience, isn't it? With
oh
it
yeah,
right now?
I just put a blast out from my website on how to win a bidding war, and put it out on Facebook and put it out to all my warm market, all my connections, how to win a bidding war, because that's what's going on. People are finding themselves again in more of an auction atmosphere for property.
And one of the things I love is that we have so many great agents handling so many properties at John L. Scott. Internally, we get some insights as to properties when they're coming and get our clients in front of some of those. And in this market right now, I think that's a great advantage.
With 130-something agents in one meeting, we can help cross-pollinate for our buyers and sellers, and that gives our clients such an edge, because if you can be there early, then you have a much better chance, and you won't have such a big fight on your hands.
Yeah, we just set another record last month, didn't we, Pete?
Well, they did. I mean, John L. Scott did 279 new transactions. That's, sales pendings and listings. That's amazing. I mean, that's in 1 month.
In 1 month.
In 1 month. So obviously there's a lot going on. What about price ranges? You mentioned that briefly, and we like to break down those price available homes per buyer by price range in certain areas. But you're saying, Alice, really that overall is it that the hottest range that I see is what, up to 250, up to 300,000 in Medford? Or is that where that's where the concentration is? Yeah,
each zip code has its own unique profile and demographic. In Ashland, it's more $400,000, $350 to $400. In Medford, on the east side, it's going to be right around $250. On the west side, it's going to be right around $175. And then the outlying areas each have their own little mini markets going on. But there's a fight in most every level until you get to a certain price range. So in Medford and Central Point, if you get outside of the 350, 400, then it's still a buyer's market.
Right, because there's more available homes per buyer in the upper ranges than there are down low.
Exactly,
absolutely.
But most of us are trying to look in the more affordable price ranges.
Well, Don McCoy, what are you saying? What are you telling people when you get into that situation about bidding? It's difficult for brokers and for buyers, certainly. Don't you think, Joe, when you're in that situation, we say, okay, I got multiple offers. Now what do I do? Well, what do you tell people?
The bottom line is just go in at what the price is. If you want to get in first position, get in there. Don't try to get $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 off that price, and then let the appraisal sort it out. Let the appraiser.
Okay.
Now, if you're all cash, it's a different story. You can close in 3 weeks. Then sometimes the seller says, yeah, this is great. We can hurry up. We can rush through this and not have to wait for 45, 55 days for escrow to close. It's all cash. They might pick an all cash one. But wherever there's a bank involved and there's appraisers involved, that's what will settle the market out at the end. So might as well go in with full asking price, and maybe that's not even enough. In some cases, it wasn't good enough.
So you're saying, okay, so go in with the full price.
That's right.
And let the appraisal then decide whether that is the correct.
That's right.
Whether they're going to pay more or less for that, isn't it?
Because the bank's not going to pay more than what it's worth.
No. But you may have to come up with more money to make it if you want it.
Exactly.
Well, and is it in those lower price ranges where you're seeing this, correct?
That's right.
Mostly.
That's right. That's where the bidding wars are going on.
Well, I've heard of someone who on one of our guests on our show, they had 9 offers on one property. And, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know how you say that. It's crazy, but and how you outbid that or what you do. But you're right. You got to go in smart and be ready. They say at John L. Scott, market ready day one. And that's certainly for buyers, especially right now, I would certainly think.
And Alice, you told us that you're writing far many more offers than you're getting actually into contract and getting accepted. I mean, that's
we're writing 6 to 8 a week.
Part of the practice right now is just that there are a lot of offers being written, and only one of those is going to be the one that comes through.
How are you finding? I mean, you're writing these offers. Say that to me. You're writing offers 3 a week. You're only getting one accepted?
No,
or one?
6 to 8.
6 to 8 a week.
Right,
Okay.
6 to 8 a week.
All right.
And only maybe 2 will get accepted.
Wow.
So buyers, if you really, really want the house, there's a couple of things you can do. Letting the appraiser sort it out, like Don said, is a great idea. Pay your own closing costs.
Yes,
Get a
that's another
co-signer
one.
so you could afford more. Have more cash, so if the appraisal does not come in at value, you can make up the difference. And if you can tell the seller that ahead of time, that you're willing to not let the appraisal be the end all, then you'll probably win the bid.
Yeah.
But it's brutal out there. We had one today. One of my listings just went on the market at lunchtime yesterday, and we got a full price, all cash offer by 10 o'clock this morning. And the
Wow,
sellers
you're kidding.
thought, well, they're closing in 2 weeks, so we don't even want to go through the weekend to see if we're getting multiple offers. Over full price, all cash in less than 24 hours.
Wow.
And it was listed at
Jeez.
$235 in East Medford.
And that's a great popular price, obviously, in East Medford.
Someone is finance. You had some gold nuggets there that you went through, especially about informing the seller that if there's a discrepancy in that appraisal, hey, I'm committed to this deal and I'm going to see it through, and I've got the cash to cover anything that might come up between now and the close. You've really got to build your case and present a great case.
That's
took a
so
few notes.
hard to say to a buyer, though, because what you're saying is you're going to pay more than it's worth right now. And in the price ranges we're working in, a lot of these folks are young. It might be only their first house.
Yeah.
And so it's a scary moment for them. Or the alternative is you go to something that's more affordable and you bid on multiple houses.
Yeah, either way, isn't that work? We'll just tell you how crazy it is, and our listeners know this. The latest SOMLS stats say March, March of 2015, March of this year. Okay, you ready for this one? What's your comments on this? Pending sales are up 25% from a year ago for the month. New listings are down 3% from a year ago. We know that. That gap continues to go. The average days in the market in our county is now less than 50. 48 days. I mean, overall, something's moving. And that's down 32% better than a year ago. Faster sales than a year ago. Here's the one that's always interesting to me is that original price versus the list price. You know, how much you actually get for the house when you sell it. A year ago, it was 94% of that price. Boy, this year it's up 1%. And that makes total sense. Available homes per buyer. This is the thing that I think probably tells the story more than anything else. A year ago, we had 5 available homes per buyer. This year, it's 3.9 or down 22%. And the available supply of inventory overall in Jackson County is down 37% from a year ago. This tells us, Don, what? I mean, this is just amazing stuff.
Well, last year was the best year in 7 years.
I know, yes.
And so what do you think this year is going to be?
It's just blowing it out the door. It's really quite remarkable. And just the supply of inventory depends where you're at.
Yeah, that could put a screeching halt to it if we run out of inventory.
Yeah, well,
having a month's worth of inventory in those lower price ranges is not the norm for sure.
Well, I mean, Ashland's got a lot of inventory in it right now, but if you go to like White City, it's got like not even a month.
Right.
When Talent doesn't have any.
Right.
Central Point, a month. Talent, a month. I mean, so that just tells you that there's in the key box activity from a year ago is not that much different. So there's obviously a lot more activity going on by the same amount of people looking, the same number of people looking for properties. Well, I think it's going to continue. That's for sure. Now, Dawn, you just got back from. Dawn is one of the first green brokers, green designated brokers in the Valley, and I know you're really into that. You just got back from Bend and some conference up there. Tell us about what you learned up there.
Well, it was my my weekly TV show that I do.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's called The Green Economy. You can see it on Saturdays at 5 o'clock on Channel 5 locally here in Southern Oregon, and that's KOBI Channel 5. And this last one was on LED lighting. And more homes are being built with LED lighting, and they're so much more efficient and cost effective than they were originally. They last so much longer, they put off less heat, and they cost so much less to burn. And so people are using it for indoor grows, and of course, contractors are putting it into new homes.
So you're seeing more and more of that around. Yeah. Alice, do you deal much with new construction? Tell me about your experiences there right now, what you're seeing, feeling, because there's construction certainly going on. I don't know. Well, we had that story recently in the Mail Tribune, by the way. Remember the editorial recently about who's in charge of housing in Jackson County? We don't have enough affordable housing, veterans housing, and on down the line. What do you see in the new housing areas that you two see?
I have about 25% of my business come from new construction. It's a combination of already built and people so frustrated, like what Don was talking about, with being able to find the home that they want at an affordable price that will appraise. They'll go try to buy a lot and have a builder come and build their house. But the lots are becoming scarce now, and that's another symptom of a tight market when the people start going out and buying lots and having homes built.
Well, the things that I'm seeing in East Medford, for example, they're in the threes and the 350s and higher. Aren't a lot of them up there? I mean, we've had Innsbruck Inn here. Those are the $1 million homes. And then Mahar, I know, is building a lot of 350s in East Medford. Those are not generally affordable housing. We had Travis Snyder here last week in Eagle Point, and they're around the 230s ranges. But that's kind of as low as it goes, I think.
I think Hayden Homes has a development in East Medford that's
on
more
Spring Street,
200s, and they're beautiful, but they're small.
Yeah.
The Mahar homes are small, and I think the Mahars actually have a waiting list.
Really? Well, there's waiting lists for veterans housing. There's waiting lists for all affordable housing. All the kinds of housing groups have waiting lists. And it seems like there's not much being done. Yet I drove by West Medford the other day. There's a bunch of apartments being built out by Bimart in those areas there. But apparently it's still not even close, I guess, to covering what we're going to be experiencing in this housing crisis
There's actually
that we have.
a lot of new construction around West Medford and the new South Medford High School over there where some of the good construction activity is taking place. And I as soon as those come on the market, gone. I mean, people are locking a lot of those up before the final nails are driven and those homes are actually finished.
Well, and they're building. We've had builders in here, and some build spec homes, and some are not even taking orders. How they're being financed, and all these things. There's really a lot of activity going out around there. Rental properties, though, I mean, it's really a tough market, isn't it? I mean, for people trying to invest in them or buy them or rent them, isn't it? It's tough.
Yeah, it sure is, Pete. And as long as the Land Conservation Development Commission (LCDC) puts pressure on the local communities and continues to force the builders to build inside and the cities to build inside and fill in all those spaces. And until they lighten up a little bit and kind of find some kind of parameters to expand a little bit, we're going to continue to have the problem.
Yeah. Well,
interesting that
we're creating our own mess, by the policies that we have in the state.
Interesting, the city of Medford is fighting tooth and nail for every acre to add to its UGB for the next 20 years, and then still has to clear the county and the state with that plan. And Thousand Friends of Oregon and all the other associated groups. But how soon? I mean, that 20 years. That's going to be up and taken care of and built and developed far beyond that 20-year boundary. And we better be looking down the road and be ready, because the growth and the demand is going to be there for Southern Oregon. And all of the projections tell us that. And infill sounds great but how are you going to do it effectively and meet the demand for the people who want to come here and be part of this?
Well, it's about where you build. It's about where you build and those kinds of things. And someone's got to have some incentives. Government has to make incentives for the affordable housing area in terms of systems development charges and things like that, to make the builders make them affordable, or we're never going to solve it. We're going to be sitting here, 5 more years and still saying we have no veterans housing. People have waiting lists. People are being put out of homes, and it's just a mess.
And renters are having a hard time.
It's a mess. That's all it is to it. The Real Estate Show got a break coming up here. We're with Alice Lehman, Don McCoy, 2 John L. Scott real estate brokers on a JLS Market Watch show here on the Real Estate Show. We're taking a break. We're coming right back to KMED right after this. The Real Estate Show rolls on KMED. April the 9th is our date. Pete Belcaster and Joe Brett, the Real Estate Guys, and thanks for joining us. You can check out all of our past shows online at realestateshowOregon.com. We hope to go there and look at them. They're also available on YouTube. And, of course, we got some great shows in the past that we'd like you to go back and listen to. Here's an interesting stat there, Joe Brett. That,
what do you got?
We talk about, it's funny, the last show, something we don't talk about anymore. You know what that is? Distressed properties. I mean, we dominated what we talked about. It was the thing. Remember that?
The last
we
remnant.
Didn't even talk about them.
I think the last remnant of that discussion are the vacant properties and and properties that are blighted now. But
they're still out there. I just want to remind our listeners there were 61 distressed properties sold in Jackson County in the last period there, but homepath.com is the website where the FHA, foreclosed properties come on. And I look at those all the time. There's probably 6 to 8 a week. And many of them are for first-time home buyers, Dawn, as you know, and Alice, as you know. And don't forget that they're still there. I think sometimes we forget that. And for first-time buyers, you have that 30-day window, that's open for a first-time home buyer or an owner-occupied home before it goes to any investor or anybody else. So, homepath.com is the way to go. There were like 4 more on there today. I mean, this week that I saw. So, and some nice ones. So don't forget those but we don't talk about, isn't that funny? We don't talk about foreclosed or short sale properties very much, do we? I mean, we really don't.
No, this shadow inventory is having more light cast on it every day.
It's just like not even there. But one area that I want Dawn to share with you, because, as we age and we get older, and we have lots of older clients. I certainly do. I mean, it's for somehow one of the fun things. But people need to be aware of what, Don, in terms of the future, especially if you're aging, you have property, wills, trusts.
Yeah, let's just explore something that's extremely serious in our society, all across the country, but right here in town. Senior citizens are not getting younger. The baby boom generation is fast approaching, some 10,000 a day, or
10,000
turning
a day.
65 years old.
Yeah.
Well, we have assets. We have real estate. We have some cash, perhaps, that kind of thing. And one of two things are going to happen. They're going to eventually cash out and move into a senior home or move in with family, or they're going to, 3 things, stay in their home. In the meantime, while that is trying to be figured out, what direction you're going to do, I have run into this so many times, and I just implore people to please get your wills and your trusts in order. Just recently, I sat down with a family where an 85-year-old lady just refused to give up control of, she needs to sell her home, and she needs to take that asset, that equity, and she needs to put it into a new place to live. She needs to downsize. And she was refusing to give up control. So I was there to try to help the family learn about power of attorney, and please get some help. Her memory was starting to slip, and then please get your will in order, and if at all possible, put a family trust together to protect yourself from probate. Avoid probate on your assets. Plan for the possibility of your own incapacity. And that's what the power of attorney is about. Control what happens to your property after you are gone. Take initiative now while you can. and use you can use it for any size estate.
Right, you just have a house and
Yeah, that's right.
have a trust with that. Absolutely.
And just prevent your assets and your financial affairs from becoming public. And keep it in the family. Gather your family around you. Start to discuss these issues, and then take action.
Yeah, no, that's really true and good advice, because we all face that, and more of us are facing that, as you know. Alice, what about change that subject a bit to rural properties around? I was in a discussion with someone this week, and they referred to what's happening in rural properties. And let me just give you those stats, because it's always important. It's up, okay? That 3-month period, January, February, March, 135 rural properties were sold in Jackson County at an average price of $305,000. It's up 28% from 5 years ago and 5% from a year ago.
That's the highest average I've
Highest
heard
median
for rural
price.
in the whole 8 years we've done the show.
And you know, some of that is actually in part the baby boomers and the Gen Xers wanting to have a little piece of paradise, but they don't want 5 or 10 acres. They don't want to live in town. Also, a lot of our veterans either don't want to or can't live in town. So there's a real high demand for, especially that half acre to 3 acre. It's almost a new little bubble. And then when we add in the growers who sometimes want to test out before they go into a big commercial operation, they want a little smaller situation. So there's a huge amount of demand, and a lot of the places are run down and they don't finance. So we find buyers making bids, winning bids, and then finding out there's something severely wrong with the property, and then they have to bail because they didn't have their rehabilitation options set up ahead of time. And then for the people that want a nicer home or have something built, there's still a lot of competition for those lots, especially the smaller ones.
Boy, and the demand in rural properties. People are just coming here, aren't they, for, again, all sorts of reasons. It's not just necessarily particular marijuana grows or whatever, but we have a GMO-free county. We have more vineyards. We have just an activity
burgeoning
galore.
industry of local produce.
Don was talking about the LED lighting. Did you say that you can actually do this new lighting, and you can grow not vegetables, things like that, year-round indoors with this lighting, right?
Yeah, and that's the idea.
That's huge.
It is huge, and it's going to become another whole level of enterprise, because we can have local vegetables year-round right here in our area. I saw it with my own eyes in Bend.
You could grow them organically, even in, you could sell them to Amy's Kitchen, for goodness sakes, if you wanted to.
To the local restaurants, there's a huge market for that.
But those are indoor, correct? Those are all kind of indoor kinds of grows.
And we can grow year round, and we don't have to pay California taxes or live with Californians. Wow, winner!
There's really a lot to this, when you think about it, in the potentials of what it might develop over time. I think that's what's kind of scary about it all. But there's certainly people call this a gold rush, in these rural properties and some of these things. And as you know, in all gold rushes, what happens? It crashes. And if that happens here, something's going to happen. I don't know what that might be or if it's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen yet.
Well, and as long as the baby boomers are still trying to downsize and have that little piece of paradise, I think it's going to postpone the bust. There will be one because market cycle, it always does. But maybe it'll be elongated in part because there's a movement with the millennial, the young adult kids that are moving in a two-family setup. They're trying to get these rural residentials. That's another almost little bubble where if people have 2 legitimate houses, 2 legal houses in a somewhat rural setting, then they will stay longer and it'll help support the market. But it's also supporting the older people who, instead of going to an assisted living house, might prefer to be with their own family. And so those end-of-life plans are just really, really important. It's the will. It's who's going to take care of you. It's how do you want to plan. I love what you said, your own incapacity. And it can be a really beautiful time for a family to sit and have those conversations and then maybe go ahead and buy that rural or semi-rural property that has 2 houses on it.
What are we're almost up a break coming up here, but the buyers that you're seeing and dealing with, are they local? Are they out of town? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, many. I'm getting more and more phone calls right now from people from out of the area that want to move to Oregon.
To come here.
They just want to be here.
Well,
and it's all across the board what they're looking for. But since we're on the topic of rural property, so many people are coming out of the cities and they want to experience some room around them.
If you lived in the Bay Area right now, people want out of there so bad. It's just the concrete jungle has truly arrived. And you're right. They want a little piece of beauty. That was with this client this week, and he kept saying, "This is such a beautiful place." You know?
Well, and our water's clean.
And,
our crime rate's manageable. The air's clean.
Yeah, it's
I love to visit California. I'd never live there. I couldn't at this point because I'm so spoiled by Southern Oregon.
Well, what's happening though is because all these things we talk about our wonderful Oregon. We're still the #1 destination in the country for people to come here, and
we're going to make some new friends.
And they're coming, and we can't stop it. Anyway, the Real Estate Show got a break coming up. We're with Alice Lima and Don McCoy on the Real Estate Show today. Coming right back, we're gonna talk about some of our listings that you might want to go check out this weekend because, man, there's not enough of them, and there's sure a big demand. We're coming right back to the Real Estate Show right after this. Real Estate Show continues here on KMED this weekend. Pete Belcastro and Joe Brett with you, and thanks for joining us here on the Real Estate Show. Next week, we're out of here. The KMED radio auction takes place, and we're back 2 weeks from today with a show from the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors with the Southern Oregon Land Conservancy. One of the cool things about the Association of Realtors is that we're bringing you some of the people who present classes to realtors, and it's on some great topics, I love the Land Conservancy and what they're doing. And again, they just have this beautiful 350-acre ranch on the Rogue River that they're buying and they're trying to raise money for. We're going to hear all about that in a few weeks. Today here on the show, we're talking with Alice Lima and Don McCoy, two John L. Scott real estate brokers with us. And well, we're just talking about what is obviously a busy time of the real estate market right now. You just got to say, isn't it? I mean, I in my years anyway, this is the most activity I've seen, so much going on. So we want to go around the room here and just tell you about some of our listings that we've got that you might want to check out this weekend because this stuff goes fast. And as we say, they're all, and it's everything. We were just talking among ourselves here, the variety of stuff that you're going to hear in just a couple of minutes may stun you. Okay, Don McCoy gets to go first.
Okay, thank you. Folks, how many of you out there and how many people have you heard that would love to have their own bed and breakfast? Oh my gosh, yeah. I have a bed and breakfast for sale.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's on an acre of land. It's in Gold Hill. It's right near I-5 and Rogue River Drive. It's a 5-bedroom. It was built in 1895, completely restored in 2007. And it's a going concern. It's beautiful with antiques, the original wood floors that are all kept up.
How many rooms?
5 rooms.
5 rooms.
Yep. And it's had a great history. And the sellers, they're just tired. They want to go do something else. So it's time to sell. $439,000, the least expensive bed and breakfast you can find.
That sounds
in
like
this area.
That sounds like it's kind of an affordable place that someone could buy. Some of these places they want $1 million for them, and you can't get them because you couldn't finance because you couldn't pay it back.
That's right.
So that sounds like a pretty good price.
And along with this bed and breakfast is 125 vine grape vineyard.
Interesting. Okay,
yep.
Cool. All
Cabernet,
right. And that's in
Melback.
Gold Hill. All right.
Yep.
Alice Lima, tell us one of yours.
I have a starter home, not as glamorous as the bed and breakfast, but it's financeable. It's clean, move-in ready. It's 2-bedroom, 1 bath. It's in Northwest Medford. It's only going to be $169,000.
Oh.
It's got a really big yard and a fantastic covered real wood deck. $169,000. It's 138 Mace. It's on the corner of Connell and Mace, and it's going on the internet today.
Now, I would think that's gonna sell pretty fast at 169, the way you've described it.
We are
that's
expecting multiple offers.
I was going
We're
to say that's going to be
multiple offers.
All right.
Yep. Go to my website, read about bidding wars.
That's right.
The real McCoy.
So you're expecting that.
Yep. And we're having
All
an
right.
open house today,
All right.
1 to 3.
All right.
So come on down.
Well, we'll see. Good luck with that one. Mine, I'll tell you about, is in Jacksonville at 180 Oford Circle. A third of an acre. It backs up against the Jacksonville wetlands, so you go out in the backyard and all you see is nature. You don't even think that you're in town. It's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 2,500 square feet. Great family home, quiet cul-de-sac, nice neighborhood in in Jacksonville for $450,000. So that's mine. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I have another interesting one.
Okay.
It's commercial property right in Medford, right near the Trader Joe's, the Natural Growers
Okay,
Market.
all right.
What's that what it's called?
Natural growers. Yeah. Okay.
And it's a 2,400 square foot, single story, 3 units, 7 offices, completely rented out.
Okay.
$2,600 a month in income, and it's for sale, $400,000.
Jeez, that's not bad
and
either.
it's a newer building. It was just built in 2005.
Fully rented.
And fully rented.
So it's
ready to rock and roll.
What's cool about it is that you're creating income already for a potential buyer. It's not like you're getting an empty building that you got to go out and rent. You've got it already rented. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good deal.
Yep. It's
not bad.
And a beautiful location right on Table Rock and North Pacific Highway.
I'll bet that'll sell pretty soon too. All right, Alice.
I've got a really nice setup in Talent on an acre, 8219 Wagner Creek, and it has a main house about 2,000 square feet, all handcrafted. We affectionately call it the Hobbit's house. It's right on Wagner Creek, and it also has a real sound studio. It was built by a musician, so there's 2 buildings on that, plus a handmade, fire-driven steam room right near the creek.
Wow.
So if you're looking for something acre or so in Talent, that's available. Give me a call.
Well, you were talking about people moving up here wanting an acre of land. That's a good one, then, isn't it? That probably won't last long either on the market. That's pretty good. I've got one. 5913 Hyatt Prairie Road is a half a township. It's 163 acres of forest land. If you want to live in your own forest reserve, this is it. The seller actually built a beautiful alpine home up there in 2005. Jackson County, made these people, what they made them do, I should say, to build this place in that forest land is really quite remarkable. All the utilities had to be underground. They had to have, storage tanks underground. It's just quite a remarkable kind of thing what they've done. But the views from up there are stunning. These folks used it as a second home, actually, and came there in the summer, and it's just stunningly beautiful and a great, wonderful alpine place. That's $749,000, and so lots of different things. Okay, and Don, you got some more to share with us.
Yes, I'd like to encourage renters out there to unless you've got lots of places to go, you've got a lot of choices out there on where to rent, then, and if you don't, you ought to really be taking care of your landlord's property. Be really, really sensitive. And keep his yard up, and keep the place clean. Keep it good in there if you want to stay, and keep your rent under control. And then for landlords, they ought to be paying close attention to the new bill that just passed last month, which goes into effect later on this month. And that's, you've got to wait a year after next month before you can raise your rent. And then you have to give 90-day notice.
Right, and that's very different, yep.
And so I ran across one really good idea for landlords to consider. Right into to a month-to-month or a long-term lease that your rent goes up $20 a year. After 5 years, you're $1,200 a year in additional income.
Wow.
And anybody can adjust to that.
You're saying write it right into the original agreement like that. Now, Al, we're almost out of time here, but didn't you say that landlords are very aware of these new rules, aren't they?
We just had a huge surge in rents in the last 2.5 weeks as landlords prepare to brace for this new change in when they can raise rents, and it just jumped some of the neighborhoods up as much as 30%, and the renters are still paying the higher fees. So I really like Don's suggestions, but the best idea is don't be a renter. Don't be buying somebody else a house. Buy your own.
Yeah, boy, that's the best advice of the day. I agree with you totally there. Well, look, Alice Lehman, Don McCoy, we're out of time. We got to go. You can check them out at johnlscott.com is our website. All of us are there. You please check them out, Don and Alice, and you can contact them that way. That'll do it for the Real Estate Show today here on KMED. Pete and Joe, the Real Estate Guys. Until we see you next 2 weeks from today, have a great weekend, everybody, and God bless.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Show on KMED AM and FM radio, presented by John L. Scott Real Estate of Southern Oregon, along with All Cities Property Management, the Home Builders Association of Jackson County, Ditech Mortgage, the Jackson Soil and Water Conservation District, and the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors. For guest information or to watch a past show, visit us online at realestateshowOregon.com. Join us again next weekend for Southern Southern Oregon's one and only real estate show on KMED.